All right, guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football podcast. Today I'm here with my man McLean. He's also known as CFB Worldwide on Instagram. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Wonderful. Now, today we're going to be breaking down the transfer portal, the offensive side of the football. We're going to jump right into it with the quarterbacks. The highest rated, these are all 24/7 sports rankings. The highest rated to commit was Mackenzie Milton going from UCF to Florida State. How do you view him going to Florida State?
Florida State it's a big move because I didn't expect him to leave UCF, but I mean it was best for him. He had a great run at UCF, and I think there's gonna be major improvement at Florida State as a whole team with Milton going there. And yeah, I think it's a great move for him.
Yeah, he had 8,600 yards, 72 touchdowns in 3 seasons at UCF. He's a big time talent, big addition for Florida State. They really lacked, Jordan Travis was solid last year, but they really lacked a passing attack.
Yeah,
The biggest problem, is his mobility. It's a big part of his game. It's going to be questionable because, he had that catastrophic knee injury that kind of ended his tenure at UCF.
yeah,
That's going to be a big concern. But, when you're talking about arm talent, there's not many like him in the country that have the arm talent he does. But that depleted athleticism could also, lead to a lesser, usage of his arm, downfield wise.
yeah. He was great, and that knee injury did just completely ruin his career there. And then Dylan Gabriel took over.
Yeah, I don't think Milton is exactly a product of the system, kind of like the UCF quarterbacks over the last few years have been. I think he's a legitimate talent, but again, you won't be able to see how he reacts to game speed until he's in the situation. But, if he can replicate what he did at UCF, perfect addition for Florida State to kind of bridge into the future.
Yeah, and that run they did in 2018, that was crazy.
Yeah, he was a big
They
part of that run with Scott Frost at the helm. I've listed Anthony Russo. Moving ahead, I think he's going to be the biggest impact transfer. Moving from Temple to Michigan State. You want to kind of allude to how lackluster the Michigan State offense was last season.
Yeah, they just couldn't move the ball. They just yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was as simple as that.
The
They really
Michigan
struggled.
State
They
had a
didn't.
new coach.
Yeah, new coach Mel Tucker coming over, a defensive guy. So offensively they made a lot of additions this offseason. Anthony Russo being one of them. Rocky Lombardi really struggled at quarterback. He's gone. Russo, 215 yards per game last season, had 9 touchdowns. Before that, he had back-to-back 2,500-yard seasons, 51 career touchdowns. I really like Russo. He doesn't have great arm strength, and he misses on some throws that he shouldn't. That's something that longtime QB coach Jay Johnson's certainly going to address. But they have talented wide receivers. I think Russo's going to be able to uplift that offense just at least a little bit to
Yeah,
being able to score
definitely.
points.
He did solid at Temple, going 8-5 in both 2018 and 18 as their starter. And then it was 2020 was his fifth year with the program, and then he did solid, but he just ended up transferring to Michigan State, look for a better opportunity.
Yeah, I'd like to see him work on some of his mechanics and his pocket issues this season. But I think overall, it's a win-win situation for both people. For all parties involved, really.
Yeah, and his last season ended really because of his injuries and then COVID. COVID messed up a lot of transfer or player seasons.
Yeah, it really wrecked a lot of opportunities for some and made other opportunities for others. Moving ahead, there's some more notable impact transfers. Jack Cohen moved from Wisconsin to Notre Dame. These two actually face off in Week 6.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know if there's going to be any bad blood there, but Cohen, it was kind of shocking to see him leave Wisconsin, go to Notre Dame. What do you kind of see? What are you expecting from Cohen this season?
I think he's going to do great at Notre Dame because Ian Book's leaving, and then he's just going to fit right into that Notre Dame offense. And it sucks that he did leave Wisconsin because he fit great there. He took him to a Rose Bowl. They did solid, but Graham Ertz took over this year after he got injured. Cohen, and I think he's going to do great at Notre Dame with their offense.
Yeah, it's a similar style of offense, like the way they like to get in play action, the ground and pound with the tough offensive line. Cohen was, the Wisconsin quarterbacks have always been knocks on them that they can't win big games, this and that. Cohen, he was probably the better out of all of them. He's much better than Alex Hornibrook. I felt like he was one of the best Wisconsin quarterbacks over the past couple of years. He's going to have the offensive line to sit back and go through his reads. He makes good decisions. He excels at play action. I think this is a pretty perfect fit, for transferring. He also has those nice tight ends, including Michael Mayer. Really, it's a similar style of offense. So, I expect similar. I think they're going to win a lot of football games with Cohen.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame's going to do just fine with losing Ian Book and having Cohen take over. And they always have great offense. Like their offensive line is great, and they got good receivers. they always have solid running backs. So yeah, I think it'll be perfect.
Yeah, the one thing about Cohen though is they lose the running ability that Book had. They're not going to get that with Cohen. That's the only
Yeah,
downfall. But I think when it comes to your passing attack, I think you're going to probably have similar, maybe even an upgrade. Depending on how the
yeah,
season goes.
definitely.
Next, Ryan Helinski transfers from South Carolina to Northwestern. He started 11 games as a true freshman, threw for 11 touchdowns, 2,300 yards. There's a lot to like about Helinski.
Yeah, and you can't forget about that upset they had against Georgia. That was crazy.
Yeah, he was a big part of that. His numbers weren't great, but it was nice to watch him. In his, I think it was his second career start, he had 324
Yeah,
yards, two scores against Bama. He certainly has the arm to make all the throws on the field. He's a nice pocket passer. I really like Helinski. Hopefully, I knocked Peyton Ramsey for transferring to Northwestern last year. It ended up being a really solid fit, and they get another addition to hopefully uplift a struggling offense that got gradually better as 2020 went on.
yeah. Helinski really impressed me his freshman year. I was at that Georgia game, so that was pretty painful.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, just watching him through the whole season, it was very impressive to see what he can do. Sadly, he was on South Carolina, and they're not best team, so they did go 4-7. But yeah, it was good.
yeah. You're
He did.
talking about a guy who has pro potential, nice frame, nice build. Again, the pocket passer awareness. He was a highly regarded guy out of high school. Hopefully this Northwestern works out to be a good situation for him.
Yeah, this is their third transfer quarterback in the past 4 years. So Pat Fitzgerald's doing something over there.
Yeah, that offense is really last season. It was almost dead last in every single category. So it was they pretty much exceeded expectations last year, despite averages and just around 20 some points per game. You know,
Yeah,
Next you move to James Graham. It's an underrated name. He's a former four-star from Georgia Tech. He goes to Georgia Southern. I really like this one because it's a scheme fit. He's a real dual threat prospect. He was recruited by Paul Johnson, so he really fits the scheme. Shy
yeah,
Works transfers out of the Eagles program, so his only action came in 2019 in the offensive transition at Georgia Tech. It just didn't fit what he was aware of. Now they put him in a scheme he can fit. I think he's going to thrive in this offense.
yeah. And Georgia Southern did pretty good this season. They went 8-5, and Graham started all of 2019, and he did solid. He was not bad, and he fit. I think he's gonna fit very well into the Georgia Southern offense.
Yeah, his passing numbers are quite horrific, but again, the aforementioned schematic change. I mean, it doesn't matter who he had back there; everyone was going to kind of fail. I
Yeah,
still think this is going to be a great fit because they really, when Shy Works went down last year, the offense really lacked effectiveness. And James Graham, I think he's just going to have a really good season. It's another one of those just sit and watch kind of things, but it's something that I would certainly watch in the Sun Belt.
oh, definitely.
Next, Quincy Patterson. This guy, he was highly recruited out of high school. He was compared to like a crossover of Cam Newton and Michael Vick, I believe, or something like that. No, Andrew Luck and Cam Newton. That's what it was.
He's
Um,
6'4".
yeah, 6'4", 230. He has elite arm strength. What do you like about Quincy?
Honestly, one thing I saw was that when he said he was talking about transferring to North Dakota State, he said they're a pro team and that's where he wants to play. So he wants to win and play at a school that is known for winning. Um, they're 8-0 in FCS national championships 2011 since 2011. So that's pretty crazy. And I think he's gonna fit very well into this team, and since he wants to win too.
Yeah, North Dakota State. That's all they do is win. They don't lose
Right.
ever. I think and you've seen what they just did with Trey Lance. And they have a similar skill set here. You talked about the arm strength. Patterson's also very athletic. His lone start at Notre Dame or at Virginia Tech came against Notre Dame. He didn't throw the ball very well, but they lost by a point. He kept him in the game, made plays with his legs. He really shines with his legs. That's really his best feature. And it kind of takes his arm strength kind of takes a back seat to it. He certainly has all the skills to be a star. Wherever he plays at.
Yeah, and North Dakota produces really good quarterbacks. Like Lance, he's a top pick. He's going to be a top quarterback in the upcoming draft. So
Yeah, Carson Wentz also went early in his prospective draft. Easton Stick, another one of those guys, who went to the NFL. So they certainly, develop quarterbacks. I think this is a great fit. He's going to be playing at the FCS level. I think he's going to have a lot of success, though, and I think he'll certainly climb up draft boards. It was a loaded, crowded QB room at Virginia Tech. So of course he wasn't able to showcase his skills, but I think it's a highly impactful transfer.
yeah, definitely.
Moving on, Jack Abram. He goes from Southern Miss to Mississippi State. Mississippi State, they really struggled last year after that opening game against LSU. They had 600 plus passing yards. KJ Costello did rather, but after that, it was terrible. 17 touchdowns, 18 picks. The yardage was low. Do you think Abram's going to uplift this offense?
I definitely think he could, but they have multiple scholarship quarterbacks too, so it's gonna be interesting to see who wins that starting position. And yeah, that LSU game was crazy because everyone thought, yo, KJ Costello is gonna do big things, and
Yeah, and then
he
after
ended up
that,
not even playing.
yeah, and then after that, I think he had 12 interceptions at the end of the year, with only one more touchdown before he was benched. The thing about Abram, he fits the pro style scheme. He's built for this type of offense. He was a high volume passer at USM. That's all they did is throw it around, and he completed 69% over 3 years. I think this is a really good fit. I think him and Mike Leach are going to really work well together. You'll have to see how it goes. Hopefully there's a spring ball and there's fall camp to get these guys acclimated. But 7,000 plus yards, 79 scores. I think this is a really good fit. But like you said, there's going to be a lot of guys he has to battle whenever camp is able to be held.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I think he's gonna fit great at Mississippi State because Mike Leach knows how to develop quarterbacks and get the long pass game. So definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great fit. It'll be interesting to see how it happens. It was pretty weird to see how that offense performed in week one, and the rest of the season they didn't do really anything at all. It was kind of strange, but um, not the most successful first year. They'll look to turn around here in year two. We move on to the top uncommitted, Alan Bowman from Texas Tech. He's struggled with durability, but he's on the field. He makes a lot of great plays.
Yeah, definitely. He threw for about 2,700 yards and 17 touchdowns in 8 games. He only missed four. He missed four due to a collapsed lung. But yeah, back in 2019, he came back and then he threw for about 1,000 yards. So it's just really, and then he got injured again for a broken collarbone. So it's just injuries, and like that's what's hurting him in his career.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting to see where he goes. If he can stay healthy, he can make a legitimate impact. I haven't been following his recruitment. I'm not sure where he'll go, but it's certainly a hot name on the block. Chris Robinson, FAU, he really shined in 2019 with Lane Kiffin. 3,700 plus yards, 28 touchdowns. He was later kicked off the team a few months, I think, sometime in 2020, I believe he was kicked off the team. Can't remember
Yeah.
for what it was, but that's why he's no longer at FAU. But certainly still a guy who developed really well under Kiffin. I think he can make an impact somewhere.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how him and Kiffin's developing Corral at Ole Miss, and then how he did with Chris Robinson.
Yeah, Kiffin, he's done a great job with quarterbacks. Jason B, North Texas, another underrated name. He looked really good last season, 1,100 yards. He split time with another quarterback as well, so his numbers aren't off the wall, but he did very well in his role. Cord Sandberg, Luke McCaffrey, Austin Kendall, and then Asher O'Hara from Middle Tennessee. Those are all names I'm watching that are top uncommitted. Asher O'Hara, 4,500 passing yards, 1,700 rushing yards, 46 touchdowns in 2 seasons. Impressive production. He's going to make an impact somewhere. I'm really interested to see where O'Hara lands.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see that.
Is there any other names that we don't have listed here that have caught your eye that are in the transfer portal?
Um, I forgot who it was. There was someone. I don't remember the name though.
I know James Blackman went to Arkansas State. I don't believe he's going to play a lot there. Lane Hatcher he's been really good over the course of his
Yeah,
career. I don't believe he's going to see a lot of playing time. But
and they also did just lose quarterback Logan Bonner. He
mhm.
transferred to Utah State.
Right, yeah, they did really good with that two QB system last year. Arkansas State did. Both of those guys shined. Logan Bonner
Yeah.
going to Utah State, kind of questionable. Didn't really like that, but maybe there's connections and ties that I'm unaware of.
Yeah.
Moving to the running backs, the highest ranked is Demarcus Bowman. He ended up at Florida, or at Clemson rather, then quickly moved to Florida after just, I don't know, a handful of months, I believe, on campus at Clemson. Probably less than that.
No, that was
Um,
a few
yeah, a
weeks.
few weeks. Yeah, he quickly changed his decision. He was a 20th ranked recruit in the class of 2020. A lot to like about Bowman. He's a versatile, all-purpose back. He has a nice jump cut, north to south runner. I think he's going to be able to provide some great production for Florida in the running game this season.
Yeah, I think him and Florida are going to be a great fit because they're gonna have Emory Jones in the backfield too, probably with Trask leaving. So Emory Jones is a very mobile quarterback. So it'll also be interesting to see how they can make some cool plays with those two.
Yeah, you're going to see the offense maybe just transition more to a high tempo passing attack. So they're going to try to get the ground game going with those two. I think Bowman needs to make an impact. Nice rotation of backs at Florida, but this makes it even more lethal.
Yeah, Florida's definitely not out of the race for the SEC East.
Not one bit. The biggest impact transfer though, I believe it's Ty Chandler going from Tennessee to North Carolina. North Carolina they replaced 2,000-yard backs, Javante Williams, Michael Carter, had combined for 30 plus touchdowns last season. So they have a lot of production to replace. Ty Chandler really fits the mold, though. He had 2K yards, 13 touchdowns, a nice moderate career at Tennessee. The thing I like about him, though, he's an aggressive runner. He's great in space, nice burst. I think this is great for him. I think he's due for a 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, and UNC's on the rise too. I could see them definitely making a push to take over the ACC, maybe, and then maybe if they were to beat Clemson in something in the ACC championship, then take over and get in the playoffs. So it'd definitely be interesting to see what they can do.
Yeah, with Sam Howell, North Carolina, very impressive offense last season. The nation's best, probably right behind Alabama. So Ty Chandler, a very impactful pickup. With all they lose, I think that's the biggest impact transfer. There's a few more notable impact transfers. We start with Utah. They pick up T.J. Pleasure and Chris Curry.
Yeah.
They lose Devin Brumfield, T.J. Green, Ty Jordan. Also, rest in peace. He was unfortunately taken at the end of December. But this Utah backfield, they had 3 guys transfer out. They have 2 guys transfer in. What do you like? What are you expecting? From Pledger and Curry?
I think that they're gonna really take over at Utah. With Zach Moss leaving last year, they had left Ty Jordan, rest in peace. So and then they're gonna take over really. Pledger was the 4th-rated all-purpose back in his class, and also a top 100 player. So I can definitely see the running game really being explosive at Utah with him and Curry.
Yeah, he kind of fits the style of tough runners that bounce off contact. Pledger does. He's also a good pass catcher. Didn't see much time at OSU. It was kind of a stacked backfield. But 475 yards, 95 carries in 2020. I really like Pledger going over to Utah. They like to get their backs heavily involved.
Yeah, definitely.
Keontae Ingram, he ends up at USC. USC, their air raid attack doesn't run the ball much, but they averaged, I believe, less than 3 yards per carry last season. I think Keontae Ingram, he's going to bring some diversity to this backfield. Do you see him just having a moderate season, or do you think he's going to make a big impact?
I think he's going to make a pretty big impact because he was sitting behind Bijan Robinson, or he got benched for Bijan Robinson this past season at Texas. And, Bijan Robinson is amazing this year. And I expect big things from him next season. But, Ingram, I think he's going to be great at USC. Hopefully they can make a push for the Pac-12 championship. Because we know how that ended this past season.
Yeah, USC, I'm a fan of USC myself. Pretty painful to watch this team, really. Just struggle with execution heavily. Short yardage running game also really struggled. That's why Marquise Stepp, he really was the short yardage guy at USC. He goes to Nebraska. He's a goal line runner, can rip off runs and run through contact. A lot to like about Stepp. He's never going to have great production, but going to Nebraska, they can have a bit of a versatile backfield.
Yeah, definitely.
Eric Gray, he was a late addition just a few days ago for Oklahoma. They've picked up a lot of those Tennessee guys transferring over.
Oh my God!
Yeah, because Oklahoma, they had their top 2 running backs from last season depart, so it was up to 2 freshmen to step in line, and Eric Gray now joins the fold from Tennessee. That's just perfect for them. Another running back with experience that can also provide some balance out of the backfield.
Yeah, Eric Gray really impresses me when he was playing this past season. He had about almost 800 yards and 30 receptions, but he did enter the transfer portal after all that happened with Tennessee and Jeremy Pruitt getting fired. So it's really sad to see what happened to Tennessee. How all their players are leaving.
Yeah, it sure did. I believe they had just about 2 weeks ago when I counted, they had about 23 guys enter the portal or had been in the portal and already made a decision. So I'm sure that number has went up since.
Yeah, some bad things are happening in Knoxville.
Another name I'd like to mention, John Levitt from Baylor. He was a moderate backup. 1,800 yards, 17 scores in 4th season. Should provide ample effort and production as a rotational back for Penn State. They have plenty of talent already in the backfield, but I believe he's going to make a solid impact. Devin Brumfield, like we said, he leaves Utah, which he left that backfield depleted. I expected him to be a breakout star last year in the Pac-12. A lot of Ty Jordan took over, and he also, COVID and whatever. He goes to Tulane. I think he's going to have a big season for them. He plays hard, runs through contact. Tulane averaged 43 rushing attempts per game last season. That was 3rd in the conference, so they're certainly going to get him involved.
Oh, definitely. He's a very aggressive running back.
And then another one that's underrated, like we said, Michigan State picked up Anthony Russo. They picked up Kenneth Walker as well. It was kind of a surprise transfer to see him go. 579 yards in each of his first 2 seasons. That's exactly his total through the first 2 years in both of them. 17 touchdowns. He's really a talented playmaker. I think that's another big addition for Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State definitely improving their offense through the transfer portal this season. Just like FSU has, Miami. They really making moves through the offseason and transfer portal to improve their team.
Yeah, they've really attacked that. Top uncommitted, Mark Anthony Richards from Auburn, DeAndre DeAndre Glass, rather, from Oklahoma State, Jamari Wakefield, Vanderbilt, some notable names. I think my favorite two that are in the portals, Gage Walker from Western Kentucky. He really had to fight hard for yardage at Western Kentucky behind a stalemate offensive line, 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, and I believe one season. It was in 2019.
Yeah.
And then Tyrick Murphy from Purdue, number one ranked running back in New York. He's a balanced player. He never touched the ball at Purdue. He was signed in the class of 2020, never touched the ball, and now he's in the portal. That's going to be a big addition for whoever lands with him.
Yeah, definitely just trying to look out for himself and try to get his touches and try to make it to the league.
Yeah, that was someone I was really excited to see at Purdue this season, but unfortunately he's in the portal, so he's going to have a phenomenal career wherever he ends up. Moving to wide receivers, this is another active positional group. Eric Gilbert just yesterday announced his commitment to Florida. A lot of people saw Georgia as the favorite, but he ends up with the Gators. How do you view this?
I was pretty disappointed, but also, I mean, if he did go to Georgia, I don't think he would have got much playing time with the Dogs having Darnell Washington at starting with JT Daniels, because they started using Darnell Washington later in the season, really, when JT came in, and he made a massive impact for the offense in some certain games. But it was just I don't know. I think it's a great move for him going to Florida because Dan Mullen, and then they produce such good tight ends as in Kyle Pitts this past season. Him going to the draft, I think Eric Gilbert's going to be a great replacement for Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, extremely athletic guy in Gilbert. It's no shock to see him not to go to Georgia. There's reports he was homesick, this and that. He goes to Florida. It's still pretty far away from his hometown, but I don't blame him. There's an open spot at tight end. He's certainly going to get a lot of touches, and you see what they just did with Pitts. Phenomenal work. So that's going to be a big, highly impact transfer. But we still wanted a biggest impact transfer. So on the PowerPoint, you see Charleston and Rambo going from Oklahoma to Miami. The Miami receivers really struggled last year. They didn't really have a lot of game-breaking plays from their pass catchers, a lot of drops. Guys struggle to get open. How do you feel about Rambo going to Miami?
I think it's going to be great because, as I said earlier, Miami's really making moves in the transfer portal this season, like they did last season with getting Jarrett King. So I think Jarrett King, and with him coming back, I think it's going to be really impactful on the receivers and also in the running game because he's pretty mobile.
Yeah, King really didn't have a lot of help last year on that offense. He really did a lot of things. I believe against NC State, he accounted for like 450 of the team's 500 yards. It was pretty insane.
Yeah.
So getting him some help, that was important. That's something Miami addressed, and hopefully getting more of their offense. There's a handful of very impactful transfers. First you want to start with Wan'Dale Robinson. For the second year in a row, the top leading receiver for Nebraska transfers out. This time Robinson's headed to Kentucky. He's from Kentucky, so it makes sense that he's there. 91 receptions, 914 yards in 2 seasons. He also had 580 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. He's a versatile weapon. I think he's going to take the SEC by storm.
Yeah, very versatile. I think Kentucky, they're kind of like a dark horse. I don't think they're going to win it. They're going to probably, win a couple games, make them maybe an upset or two. But, yeah, Kentucky, they're definitely coming up.
Yeah, Kentucky, they haven't scored 30 points per game. They've only had 30 points per game or more in a season only once in the Mark Stoops era, I believe. So, getting some more talent on offense is certainly something they needed to do, or to address, rather. Katie Nixon going from Colorado to USC. This is, as a USC fan, I like this addition. I think Nixon would have fitted anywhere. He's a smaller body at 5'8", but he's a speedster. 104 grabs for 1,200 yards, mainly over 2 seasons. You'll see a lot of usage from the Trojans' offense as they love to toss around the ball in this air raid system.
Yeah, his role really diminished last season. He only caught 15 passes for about 130 yards. But I would love to see him when he goes to USC just really go off.
Yeah, it was shocking to see his production go down. I don't know if injuries went into that or whatnot. I didn't really follow Colorado that closely last season. I know they did have a struggling passing attack regardless. Sam Nair only averaged less than 200 yards per game. But I think he's going to be a big fit at USC. With Tyler Vaughn, Zamon St. Brown departing, they're going to need guys to step up. He's going to be one of them.
Yeah, and he briefly considered leaving for the NFL, but he ultimately chose to return, and I think that was the best decision for him so he can up his draft stock.
Yeah, agreed. And returning for a team that's a great fit for him as well. DJ Matthews, highly recruited guy, Florida State, heads to Indiana, another deep receiving core. He adds even more to the thickness of that core. What do you like about Matthews?
I think Matthews will be very entertaining with Michael Penix.
Mm-hmm.
and also they have Ty Fogel at the receiving. So I think Indiana's gonna be very deadly like that. They were this past season, and potentially beating Ohio State, the top dog in the Big Ten. And so I definitely can see Indiana making some moves next year.
Yeah, they returned Peyton Hendershot as well. David Ellis, Miles Marshall. They're really loaded in my opinion at receiver. They almost had 500 yards against Ohio State passing. They had a real field day. Wap Filer, he departs. Matthews, he's going to fill that void hopefully, along with the production. Another big impact for transfer. Grant Calcaterra, he goes from Oklahoma to SMU. He was originally headed to Auburn, and then after the decision to fire Gus Malzahn, he went against. He decided to flip his commitment to SMU. He goes there with former Oklahoma quarterback Taylor Mordecai.
Yeah.
I think he's going to shine at SMU in the group of five. It would be nicer to see him at the Power Five level because he's capable of playing at that level. But SMU he goes. I think he's going to shine at the AAC though for sure.
Yeah, he announced his decision to transfer because of Malzahn, which was it wasn't a shocking fire because we all knew like Auburn struggles. They're like the very bipolar team.
Yeah.
Seeing what they did in like 2017, beating Georgia and Bama, then just being complete dog crap the next year.
Yeah, Auburn strange. It was a late fire though. I don't know if Auburn should have did that, and then they kind of had to settle for Brian Harsin. Brian Harsin, a great coach, nothing against him, but I don't believe he was one of their early options whatsoever.
Yeah, I think they should have looked more into interviews and stuff.
The top uncommitted. There's not a lot of great top uncommitted guys at receiver. Jeremiah Holloman, FIU. He had a moderate role, 418 yards, 5 scores with Georgia in 2018. He's a nice, talented guy. Trevon Sidney, D. Anderson, Eddie McDoom. Those three, along with Holloman, they're all working on their third school. So, Eddie McDoom is a speedster. He hasn't really did much in his time across college football at Michigan or USF. But, yeah, all these guys are headed to their third school.
Yeah, I liked Holloman when he played at Georgia. He was pretty impressive in that natty run. So
yeah, I think he can make an impact wherever he might end up. Maybe he'll go back to the SEC or a lower tier group of five school like he is now.
Yeah.
Moving to the offensive line, Wanya Morris, 5-star from Tennessee. He thrived at tackle in his first season and allowed Trey Smith to play at guard. He's headed to Oklahoma. I think he's going to make a phenomenal impact. How do you see Morris translating over to the Big 12?
I think him going to Oklahoma will be it's just one of those other Tennessee players that transferred to Oklahoma because of the Jeremy Pruitt situation and all that. But I think definitely him being on that team is going to be very beneficial for him because they're going to be one of the top teams in the country next year. Everyone's thinking, but also their offense is just crazy with Spencer Rattler at quarterback.
Yeah, Rattler. Yeah, Rattler. He had a great end to last year. He had some struggles early on. He was phenomenal down the stretch. Morris, he's a 5-star to the class of 2019, 6'6", 320. His athleticism is impressive for his size. I think it's a great fit at Oklahoma for what they like to do offensively. I think he's going to perform very well.
Yes.
Devontae Dobbs, a highly ranked 4-star. He's the top-ranked guard in the class of 2019. He heads to Memphis. I think he's going to be an immediate impact for the group of five, one of the better group of 5 teams in America.
Mm-hmm.
2 Virginia Tech 4-star offensive linemen transferred this offseason. Doug Nestor was one of them and Brian Hudson the other. Headed to West Virginia and Louisville, respectively. Hudson, he's 6'4", 250. He's a tough, physical guy. I think Louisville, they really need help on the offensive line. He's going to provide it.
Yeah, Louisville definitely needs some help on the offensive line.
And then Nestor, I think he's an exceptional run blocker. He has good strength as well. I think, West Virginia, they're going to continue to beef up in the trenches. These aren't notable names, but I think they're going to make impacts, with their new schools.
Yeah, definitely.
One of my favorite pickups here, Tykees Crawford. He goes from Charlotte to Arkansas. He was a 4-star coming out of high school, landed at Charlotte because he was originally coming to Arkansas. Chad Morris was then fired, and he ended up flipping, last minute to Charlotte. He's now back this time around. He can, he's one of my favorite guys out there. Strong lower body. He can play the interior. So, he can kick outside. He's a great motor for being 6'6", 335. Impressive athletic ability at the second level. He's back at Arkansas. They need to continue to beef up themselves. Sam Pittman is a phenomenal offensive line coach. I think Crawford's going to Pittman. He's going to be able to develop Crawford. I think he's going to be one of the better linemen here over the next couple of seasons for not just the Razorbacks, but in all the country.
Yeah, Arkansas was they were very impressive last year for me. I didn't think they were even going to win a game, to be honest.
Yeah, they really impressed me as well. I was really pleased with what I saw from Marcus. Saw their defense really improved. They forced a lot of turnovers. They had 6 interceptions against Matt Corral. Kind of boosted that number, but regardless, they still were very improved on both sides.
Yeah.
EJ Nadoma Ogar, Oklahoma to Missouri. He's a former 4-star as well. They Eli Drinkwitz adds more talent to his offense. He likes to spread things out. This is really going to help them.
Yeah, definitely.
Top uncommitted: C.J. Thorpe, Reese White, Jimmy Johnson. Some names that some people might hear, but I do believe they can make impacts wherever they end up going. Is there anybody we didn't discuss that you would like to mention on any offensive position?
No, not really.
All right, guys. I think that's going to be it. Well, Kale, I appreciate you joining me today. And,
You're welcome.
it should be interesting to see where some of these top uncommitted guys go to school. I'd also like to throw out there Dylan McCaffrey committed to Northern Colorado yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, his dad is the head coach there, so that makes sense. He'll probably spend a year there, then transfer back to the FBS level. You see that with some guys. I believe that's going to be the case with him. If we don't have anything else to add, we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
I think I'm good.
All right, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Social media for me and CFB Worldwide will be in the description. Make sure you follow, leave a like, and subscribe. And everybody have a good day.
All right, see you.